Hello, I'm Kevin Gibbons. I'm the Executive Director of UBMD Physicians Group and the Senior Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs at the Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences here in Buffalo, New York. I've given a number of presentations on the status of COVID-19 in our community, and I'd like to take that opportunity to do that again as we have a new vaccine available now, and there's a lot of concern and confusion about the status of herd immunity. And I'd like to take this opportunity to answer those questions. I'm going to share my screen with you now. And so this is the March 2021 update. A lot of vaccines, vaccine types, availability, hesitancy, risks, effectiveness, herd immunity, vaccine versus natural immunity, and vaccine choice. We'll talk a bit about disease trends, why we are where we are right now, and some predictions for the future. I invite you to check out some of the previous talks, which are available on UBMD's website, as well as on YouTube. I'm going to go over a lot of information on the slides. I'm not going to go over it all in the next few minutes as we discuss this. So we have two vaccine types available now. mRNA vaccines, that's a mRNA and a fat globule. It's taken up by the cells. The cells make the spike protein and the immune system responds. The DNA is in a modified non-replicating adenovirus. It can't make you sick. The DNA makes RNA. The RNA makes the protein, again, and the immune system responds. So vaccine availability has been an issue. We've been waiting for this for a long period of time. The good news is the floodgates are about to open. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, 80 million have now been given. We were over 2 million doses a day in the US this week. We anticipate 100 million plus this month of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. That's great news. The J&J vaccine released this week, single dose, 4 million doses immediately, 20 million by the end of the month, 100 million by June. Merck, a very large vaccine manufacturer, is going to help J&J produce this. We expect that there'll be 1 billion doses by year end. So it's been a supply and demand. We've been waiting for a vaccine for months. We knew this was coming early February. Two former commissioners of the FDA in a Wall Street Journal editorial noted that the supply would exceed the demand in April. Yesterday, President Biden announced that we're on track to have enough vaccine for every adult in America by the end of May. The Gottlieb and McClellan editorial does note there are significant gaps in vaccination rates across race, income, and location. Part of that is vaccine availability, but part of it is vaccine hesitancy. And that was looked at in a paper in JAMA released in late December. At that time, a survey of early December US adults, only 56% were willing to get vaccinated when their time came. That number has gone up, but it really needs to go way up. We need to get 95% of people vaccinated. We also have to realize that a quarter of our population are age 18 and younger. We don't have a vaccine available for them yet. That is in trials. We need that group to be vaccinated as well to really develop a degree of true population or herd immunity. Vaccine risks are of concern. These are incredibly safe vaccines. The most serious side effect seen with either type of vaccine is anaphylaxis, a severe reaction that is treatable. No one has died of this in these vaccine trials. And now with the Pfizer Moderna, we have we have 60 or 70 million doses now given. So these are safe vaccines. They do generate flu-like symptoms in a significant number of patients. Those symptoms typically last a day. It is rare for them to go any longer. In terms of trial design and the vaccine effectiveness of the new J&J vaccine, Phase 3 trial, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, the gold standard, 40,000 plus participants in the US, Brazil, and South Africa, a significant number over age 60, 40% with comorbidities, a racial diversity makeup that very closely mirrors that of the United States. The results are in. Reduction in all COVID, significant. Reduction in severe COVID, 85%, very significant. And eliminated death from COVID in the vaccine group, whereas 5 patients in the placebo group died. And it should be noted that this vaccine trial was carried out in countries where some of the variants of concern exist, in Brazil and in particular in South Africa. Variants, what are they? Well, all viruses mutate. Sometimes that mutation conveys an advantage. Viruses with that mutation increase and may become dominant, and they're identified as a new variant. They're identified by numbers and by their location. So the B117 is the UK variant that came out of the south of England in the fall. P1 and P2 are the Brazilian variants. B1351 is the South African variant. Why are variants important? Because they can increase contagion, increase disease, and increase death. The B117, the UK variant, increases the risk of death by 40%. That brings about a potential risk of reinfection if their variation is so different that cross-variant immune protection is not achieved by either previous infection or by immunization. The graphs on the bottom give some history of the disease in two countries. The graph on the lower left is the UK. It shows the spring spike, the low numbers in the summer, the fall spike they had. They went into lockdown, started to go down, and then in December, the new variant took off, and they had this tremendous spike in December and January, followed by a decline. Over on the right, we see what happened in Brazil. Remember, our summer is their winter and vice versa. So over the course of June, July, August, they had a very high winter spike. Then it started to come down as expected. Then the new variants came in. And even though it's their summer now, they're having significant amounts of disease. In Peru, there was a significant wave, and then there was a second wave with a different variant, and people who were infected the first time around are getting infected the second time around. That's very concerning. The way we get rid of variants is we immunize as many people as possible, and we sequence viruses to identify new variants, and if necessary, change the vaccine, which is very easy to do with this new vaccine technology. It's important to note vaccines work. This is the experience in the US. When we started vaccinating in the nursing homes in the middle of December, you can see in the red line, the number of deaths in the nursing home plummeted. The deaths continue to go up in the general population because they were not being vaccinated at the same rate. The same thing is true of the number of cases. You can see this over on the right-hand side. Vaccinations work. So why we are where we are right now? Well, when it comes to this whole pandemic, it comes about virus transmission, the R factor, how easily the virus spreads, the number of people who are immune, or the number of people who exhibit behaviors that decreases their chances of getting infection. The mortality rates are significantly less than they were in the spring, but people still die from this virus. The graph on the right is from the New York Times COVID Project, and it shows a plateau in what had been a pretty rapid descent in the total number of cases in the US. You see that with this blue arrow here. We need to make sure that number keeps going down. You have to realize that plateau is at the same level where we started to get into trouble in November. We really need the disease incidence in our community to go way down. So people talk about population or herd immunity. The better term is population immunity. Traditionally, that's when the virus can no longer find a susceptible individual. That means people are immune to it. And those people are immune because they've been vaccinated or they've recovered from natural infection. People have used the term effective immunity, which is a combination of immunity plus behaviors that allow you to avoid the disease, isolation and masking. It's not true herd immunity. So are we at herd immunity? Not yet. When you do the calculations of herd immunity, it says we need 63% of our population to be immune for this pandemic to end. Well, if you do the math of the number of cases that are known, you multiply it by the number of cases that you presume, you realize 150, and add the vaccinated numbers, you realize in January, 150 million Americans, 45%, had some degree of immunity. Well, that's not enough for herd immunity. Why did the disease go down? Well, of the remaining 180, at least half were protecting themselves with masking. That got you into the 70 or 80%. And if you play with the calculations, depending where you put the numbers, it actually comes out to 63% on the nose. That's why the disease incidence went down, because of immunity plus behaviors. And that behavior, the primary behavior, is isolation and masking. It's like a life jacket, okay? And it's important to note that if you're in the middle of the ocean and you have a life jacket on and you're not drowning, it's not time to toss away the life jacket. For us right now, until we reach true herd immunity, masking is our life jacket. So how do you become immune? Is it better to get vaccinated or get infected and recover? Well, If you vaccinate, you can control when. There's no risk of death. The strength of the immune response is much greater. How long it lasts, we don't know yet. Whether you'll need a booster, we're not sure of that either. With natural disease, it's random and uncertain. 1% of 60-year-olds who get infected die. The disease can still be severe. Long haul disease is an issue. I appreciate my sense of taste and smell. I like food and the smell of a cup of coffee in the morning. I don't want to waste that. And the strength and duration of natural disease is unknown. And the other thing is it could take years for enough natural disease to get us to a point of herd immunity when we have the ability to vaccinate everyone in this country in the next few months. Which vaccine is better? There's no answer to that. They're both outstanding vaccines. Both prevent severe death and disease. The Pfizer vaccine may prevent mild disease a little bit better than the J&J. The Pfizer Moderna require 2 shots, J&J only 1. The Pfizer Moderna has cold storage issues. The J&J does not. The J&J vaccine has the advantage of having been found to be protective in regions where new variants are emerging. We don't know that of Pfizer Moderna because those variants didn't exist when that vaccine trial was being done. Although we do know that the Pfizer Moderna vaccines have been very successful against the B117 variant in the United Kingdom. So get vaccinated as soon as you can with whichever vaccine is available. Continue to wear a mask until true population immunity is reached whenever exposure is possible. That's hopefully 2 to 3 months away. A lot depends, of course, on the variants. No mask is required when you're with other people who've been vaccinated, unless, of course, they got off a plane from Brazil yesterday. Travel and quarantine requirements are going to be based on immune status. We're starting to see that with recommendations from the CDC late last week that start to recognize the safety that vaccination is providing. Booster shots may be needed in the future. We're going to know a lot more about this in a month or 2 from now than we know now, but everyone needs to get vaccinated now as soon as possible. There is no advantage to yourself to waiting, and there's a definite disadvantage to your country to waiting. So thank you very much. Stay safe, get vaccinated. Thank you.